The Boy in the Black Suit by Jason Reynolds. Matt, the main character in The Boy in the Black Suit, was a normal teenage boy until his mother finds out that she has cancer. With this diagnosis, his whole life changes. The book starts out with Matt starting his first day of his senior year. It should actually be his 19th day, but he has missed the first 19 days due to the death of his mother. Matt is not excited about going to school. He doesn't want to lug books around, learn stuff, or be around people that don't really matter. He feels that being around the slamming lockers, sneakers screeching and squeaking on the floor, and teenagers laughing and shouting through the hallways is like a nail going on the chalkboard. He feels that everything is backwards. The principal that doesn't normally come out of his office is now escorting him to his locker. Friends that he would normally talk to are now ignoring him. The first passage that I chose from the book was Matt's experience with his father during his mother's illness. I feel that it gives you a lot of information about his mother's personality and how his family is coping with his mother's illness. My father got the call around 4 a.m. I wasn't asleep and neither was he. He hadn't been down in the kitchen pouring shot after shot of cognac since after midnight. He pulled the bottle out of the cabinet and set it on the table when he first got home, but he didn't drink any. Even though my mother would have had a drink every now and then, I had never seen Pops have even a sip, but I could tell he was thinking about it, and I couldn't blame him. He just flipped from card to card, reading the get well messages out loud to me like bedtime stories. At one point, I thought he was going to offer me a drink. You know, it's kind of a father-son bonding thing, but he didn't. He just let the bottle sit there as if a third person was in the room. I stared at the flowers and thought about just trashing them, since they'd be dead in the morning anyhow. Pointless. I knew Dad would be upset about it, but I just couldn't keep my mouth shut. "Are we really keeping these?" I asked, snatching a petal off. Dad kept reading through the cards. "Dad, we might as well just get rid of them. It's not like Mom's gonna care. Shoot, they're gonna die anyway." He paused for a second, then like I hadn't said a word, he continued with the corny poems with lines like "back on your feet" and "love is the best medicine." I left the flowers alone. Eventually I dozed off at the table and woke up again, and he was still reading. I got up and headed to bed, kissing him on the head, and when I got halfway up the stairs, I finally heard the liquor pouring. Then my father hissing as he swallowed the shot, then pouring again. Hours later when the phone rang, I didn't hear anything my dad said, but as soon as I heard it ring, I knew. A few minutes after the call, I heard him slowly come up the stairs, and then there was a knock at the door. "Come in," I mumbled, and then he opened it, and I was already dressed, and from what I could tell, we were both already numb. Matt has to deal with the loss of his mother and a great deal of sorrow. As he works through mentally coping with his mother's death, he has difficulty with his father and begins relationships with a few main characters in the story. Matt has to return to school, and he encounters both friends and other students at the school and struggles with very strong emotions. He feels that he is beyond his high school peers and his experiences and doesn't want to be there. A main character who comes into Matt's life is Ray, the owner of the local funeral home. He offers Matt a job helping prepare for the funerals a few hours each day after school. Matt becomes very close to Ray, and he has a new addiction that forms with his new job. At the funerals, Matt learns more about his character named Love. Love is at her grandmother's funeral, and she is reading the eulogy. At this point, the church was quiet. Not a single word, not a wrapping paper crackling, not a creak in the wooden pews. Nothing. I kept staring at Renee's, Love's face, trying to find the weak point. The hard swallow, the drowning eye, something that would give me the feeling I needed. Something that would tell me there were explosions happening inside of her and that she was one of us, a mourner. But this was one that wasn't coming as easy. I kept watching and waiting. I felt that the author Jason Reynolds did a good job in The Boy in the Black Suit at looking at how individuals deal with death in their own way. My father passed away a few months ago, and it really made me think about death and how each person handles it. In the book, Matt and his father deal with the death of his mother very differently, and the book also shows other examples of how people deal with death. Death is often the news today, and children are forced to learn to cope with it more than I had to as a child. I feel the author did a great job in making it believable of how a teenage boy would have dealt with death of his mother and the difficulties that arise with his father after her death. I must say as a disclaimer that I wouldn't choose this book for my school library due to the language content in this book. It is not appropriate for the Catholic school.